Hey everyone, before we begin today's episode, just wanted to take a moment to let you know that there will be discussion of a character committing suicide. If you are considering suicide or have a plan to take your life, please call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 988. Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 11 of the Anime Banter podcast with your hosts Turtle, Sean, and Mike. Thank you for joining us today. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you guys?
I'm doing okay myself.
I'm doing pretty good. I'm pretty excited. I got a new microphone finally.
Woohoo!
Big congrats.
So hopefully this sounds much better for all you listeners.
Yeah, I switched over to my microphone I've been using for my YouTube recording for this, and I just recently got. For anyone who's interested, my microphone is the Elgato Wave 3, and I switched over to using Elgato's Wavelink program, and I got some VST plugins for EQ and noise cancellation. So hopefully we're starting to sound pretty good, pretty professional.
I'm still using my headset, but reach out to us on social media if you think that one person sounds much better or much worse than someone else. Let us know, and we'll do what we can to fix it.
Absolutely. And just I'm a disclaimer. Let me throw it out there. I live on a pretty busy road. I do have a noise cancellation active, but sometimes I have some motorcycles running by. So if you hear any motorcycles, I'll try to cut them out. But that's why. So bear with us. Thank you.
Turtle lives on top of a biker bar.
Sometimes it sounds that way. Be the middle of the night and there's motorcycles flying by and big 18-wheel truck deliveries flying by. It's like 2 a.m. Yeah, it kind of sucks, but what are you going to do? Did we lose Mike?
That's what I'm wondering. You there?
Shit. Yep, I was on mute because I muted.
okay.
I muted myself to open my drink and forgot to hit the button again.
He's got this period of nothing, and I'm like, what's going on?
What
else is new?
Was I muted when I did the motorcycle noises?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't hear. We heard nothing.
Damn it!
So,
when you were saying about the motorcycles going by, I went brum, 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 brum.
Muted. Completely muted.
Damn it!
I think I'm going to leave this in. I'm leaving it in.
The trials and tribulations of learning to get your new microphone. Anyways, I got the Blue Yeti microphone with the Mutter mic cover and the boom scissor arm with the double pop filter. I'm really digging it.
Yeah, it looks like a really nice mic from the pictures you sent me. So
Yeah, I agree. Quality setup.
It was pretty affordable too, all things considered. I think I spent like $130 on everything.
yeah, the Elgato setup is a little bit more pricey. I think the microphone runs about $150. Pop filters like $30. So if you got a little bit of extra cash, don't feel like you have to get this microphone. That Blue Yeti looks really nice, and the price point's pretty good. So
It's also nice that the microphone comes with a desktop stand. So if you don't want to buy the arm and everything, you just set your microphone on the desk and be fine.
yeah,
Shall we get into the anime?
Let's do it.
I am ready.
Today, we are talking about episode 7 and 8 of Trigun Stampede. Episode 7, Wolfwood. Loved the visual at the beginning of the episode with the Bad Lads gang boarding the ship. I was surprised at how colorful they were with the neon lights and everything. Like, for a show being mainly like a lot of browns and dark, like you have Vash's red jacket, but otherwise it's color-wise it's relatively dark. It was interesting seeing this gang being so colorful.
Yeah, it felt like really out of place.
It's a nice contrast, kind of break things up,
It's also like, wait, hold on, are these for a gang? They seem very like something seems weird with them. It's like, are we sure they're bad guys?
They were kind of silly, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into that later. They had some
Very
Ginyu
silly.
they had some Ginyu Force vibes to them. So we see Wolfwood step in to fight Livio to allow Vash to run, and Vash doesn't want to, and he finally listens to Wolfwood. And I thought during this, the fight itself was freaking gorgeously shot or animated. Loved the entire fight scene. But it was interesting that Wolfwood shot Livio in the leg, and Livio's leg healed instantly without drinking any of the fluid that we always see him and Wolfwood drink.
Yeah, he's got some different experimentation to him. It looks like.
Yeah, I was also it just seems like every one of these science experiments just has completely different things going on.
I'm sure it's just like everything science related. The more you do, the more you learn, and the better your experiments become over time. Just like with anything. I know with us, the first time we recorded this podcast, our sound was off, our volumes were off, and I feel like each episode we're getting better and better.
You know, thank you to the editor who does all this. Uh, that, that's me, by the way.
I was gonna say, yeah, way to pat yourself on the
I,
back,
I was
Turtle.
gonna say, giving
Yeah,
yourself
so
a self high five there.
You know, somebody's got to do it. Yeah, I try my best to make every episode just sound better as we get along. So I'm definitely a novice at this. You know, I'm not a professional by any means, but I do my best. So hopefully you guys are noticing an improvement from week to week as I hopefully am getting better at this.
Hey, as you get better, maybe you'll be able to live your dream of being a sound guy for a rock band.
I would also like to be in a rock band. Too bad I can't play anything.
uh yeah, I mean, here's how you have to get into the industry. It's just like have an uncle who already has a job in the music industry, and then they'll just like do whatever you want.
Is that like everybody's uncle who works at Nintendo?
Yeah, just like that one.
So I loved how the Bad Lads gang wanted Meryl to take their pictures in that
That
hallway.
that was a great scene.
So funny.
And the first pose they struck felt very similar to the Ginyu Force poses.
Absolutely. I mean that goes back to like the Super Sentai shows in Japan where they strike the ridiculous poses like that. That's where the Ginyu Force got it. So I just love how that's become such a thing.
I also love how the one guy told Meryl to make sure she didn't use the one where his eyes were closed. And she's like, sure.
Like,
Because we could clearly see your eyes.
so you guys have these masks that cover your entire face. How am I supposed to know if your eyes are open or not?
If it starts like getting weird though, because the like when they almost like start threatening her, and then they like force her to start laughing.
Yeah,
It's like really weird. I was like, so watching the scene, I'm like, what is happening? Like, what is this?
it's bizarre, but it was pretty funny.
Yeah, I chuckled.
They definitely provided some good levity to these episodes.
Yeah, this one in particular because this whole general plot is kind of dark.
It gets dark real fast.
So you need a little bit of levity in there to break things up. Just like their outfits.
So we get back to the fight between Livio and Wolfwood. And Wolfwood naturally gets the upper hand on Livio because protagonist. And Livio just keeps saying he has to catch up, he has to catch up, he has to catch up. And Wolfwood realizes what's going on, like realizes how much Livio was experimented on, and he's trying to be the strong big brother and like let him down softly, like, I never wanted to be your friend, I never wanted to hang out with you, you were always a jerk, like you were always an idiot, just leave and never come back. And like you could tell he's trying to protect him in a tough love kind of way, but it's clearly not sinking in.
Yeah, it was definitely the whole um trying to figure out his emotions type of deal. While trying, he wants to keep Livio safe no matter what, and he's like, maybe if I can convince Livio to get away from me, I won't have to kill him.
And he's ready to shoot, like he has his gun at Livio ready to end him, and we see Wolfwood's gun shoot upwards towards one of Zazzie's worms, and we see Vash shot the gun upwards to for it to shoot Zazzie's worm, which Grade A shooting right there by Vash.
Yeah, that was wild.
He's a true marksman.
I don't know about you guys. Bugs don't gross me out. Like, I see a bug, it's whatever. I see a bee, a spider, whatever it might be. It's like, okay, yeah, whatever. As long as you're not messing with me, I'm not going to mess with you. But I was so grossed out when Zazie pulled that worm out of her mouth to be the new set of eyes for her and for her and Blue Summers.
Yeah, that was they're like what did they call it? They blew up the eye, I think they called it. The
Yeah.
eye. And then it was like well, like just get a new one. It's like, okay. Oh, okay, yeah.
And like you would think that process would take more than like an on command prompt. Like you would think it would take maybe a couple minutes.
Nah, he just whips it out.
It's like, oh, here you go. Fresh as the day. Nice and covered in saliva.
Nasty.
Wasn't great. And I know I said it last week, but I love the art of Livio and Wolfwood's flashbacks. The hand drawn look to it and everything. It just looks so nice.
Yeah, I really like that too.
I like it as well.
And it feels like they chose it to make it seem like simpler times. Like, oh, it's just two kids before the world absolutely decided to fuck them every which way. I mean, they're orphans, so they're already sort of fucked, but they're still kids at heart.
Yeah.
So Vash tells Wolfwood, hey, you can save him. Just think of something that only the two of you know before Livio had all the experiments done on him. And Wolfwood sort of seemed hesitant to believe that that would work. He's like, shut up, like, get out of here, Needle Noggin. You don't know what you're talking about. And then he's like, you know what? He's like, it felt like he begrudgingly tried it just to like entertain Vash. So it was the way he flipped the lighter was cool as hell.
It was animated really well.
It was. It was also really cute in the flashback how Livio was trying to mimic the flip and he couldn't get the hang of it. And then, so Wolfwood is able to break the mind control on Livio. And it's like, oh, cool. He's free. Him and Wolfwood can be brothers again. Like, it felt very, oh, like this is a very touching and happy moment. And then shit got dark very quickly.
As Trigun tends to do.
This Trigun especially.
Yeah.
So Livio then starts having flashbacks of all of his teachings for the Eye of Michael. And we hear different things of like, oh, if you're ever compromised, you need to end it. And like, we see blood, like dead bodies on the floor and blood and the symbol for the Eye of Michael. And we see all these flashbacks. And then Livio starts pointing his gun back and forth between Wolfwood and Vash, so neither one of them can get close to Livio. And then Livio takes his gun and points it to his head and shoots himself. And I was not expecting that at all.
I wasn't sure what to expect. I honestly felt that Wolfwood was going to be forced to kill him. That's honestly what I thought was going to happen. I thought it was just going to be like a really sad thing, and he was going to have to end it. And that happened, and I was like, oh. I also was not kind of not really expecting that.
I mean, Wolfwood even had that line in the beginning where he's like, I'll take you out if I have to. So he was like prepared to do that. And
Yeah.
this happened.
I even thought, okay, mind control broken. Blue Summers is right there. He's just going to use some of his power to kill Livio from the car.
Would have made sense.
But to have the suicide was just, whoa, okay. A little too dark.
Well, I'm gonna throw out a little bit of a theory. I have no idea what's gonna happen, but he has some pretty crazy healing powers. Maybe he's not really dead.
That's true. And Blue Summers did make mention of picking Livio back up and that he would still serve a purpose.
Yeah. So that makes me wonder if we might see Livio again.
His healing powers are pretty extreme, now that you mention it.
I wonder how frequently they go off, though, because when Wolfwood and Livio were shooting each other, and they were both just covered in bullet holes, Livio seemed pretty slow to heal from those.
That's true. There could be like a limit as to if you keep doing it over and over again, it starts to slow down for a while. We don't really know the limitations of these abilities, and it's different from person to person as well. Wolfwood needs to drink his little vial, and Livio just seems like he doesn't. It's just in him. So maybe he only has so much in him and can only heal so much.
It's in his blood.
Good thoughts. Yeah, we could do a lot of speculation on their powers, but all we have is what they give us.
So maybe we will see Livio again.
I have doubts.
He's coming back as a good guy.
Face turn.
Shows love to do that though. I talk about like you watch anime. How many times does like the villain from season one come back as a good guy in season two in some capacity in these shows? It's all the time.
Yeah, if done really well though, it's a great moment.
It is.
We
Yeah.
we rarely get the heel turn in anime. I feel
Yeah, it's not done as often. You're right.
Getting the face turn is more likely.
you get the better pop from the face turn.
Yeah, or the heel turn, you sometimes get it, but honestly, it's usually done really poorly. Like the reason that the characters are fighting is usually like really stupid, and you're like,
Yeah.
"Wow, really? They're just that's it for them because of this."
Or you get the heel turn where where magic forced them to turn heel, like Majin Vegeta.
Or brainwashing, like Livio.
Well, I wouldn't say that Majin Vegeta is the greatest of examples because he let himself be taken over, quote unquote, just to get the power boost. But then again, he never followed directions that he was given anyway, so he just wanted the power boost. So not a great example for that one. But I can't think of a good example of a heel turn that was like really good that I know of anyway.
Yeah, I can think of a few really interesting ones. One of the ones that comes to mind, I think, it parallels with this. In anime, all the time they do this like characters brainwashed, and then they're like, just remember me, remember your friends, remember who you are, and like it fixes everything. You know what I'm talking about, right? The power of friendship always wins, blah blah blah. Um, but I watched a really dark one called Madoka Magica, and in that one, the power of friendship does not win out at all, and like they try to do like the break you out of your brainwashing thing to for one of the characters, and it just doesn't work, and they have to kill her.
Ooh.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So
they set you up with the meme and you're like, oh, I know exactly what's going to happen. They're like, nope.
yeah, because it's like really dark, but you're like, oh well, they're gonna save her, and then they don't, and you're like, oh crap. Yeah, ultra dark show, but a classic in the magical girl genre.
So Blue Summers believes the only way to get Wolfwood to realize his full potential as the Punisher is to get rid of Livio and the orphanage. And to quote Bad News Barrett on this way of thinking, I'm afraid I've got some bad news. I mean, that thinking does not add up to me. It's like, yeah, let's kill his brother and all the orphans that he cares about. Then he'll become one of us.
Blue Summers is an interesting character, and he seems very different in this show compared to the original. Both are, to me, both are terrifying, but this one's a little bit more unhinged.
Yeah, that's I would say that's pretty accurate. Yeah. But I don't know. Like the more I'm watching this show, the more I realize how divergent it is from the original. Like it's diverging like greatly from the original. We're getting a lot more here, and honestly, in a lot of ways, it's better.
I do want to go back and watch the original, but I don't want to do it until we're done, just because I don't want to ruin anything for myself if they have a lot of the same or they use a lot of the same ideas.
Yeah, I mean, from what we've seen so far, they definitely have some similar elements, but they're very different.
I guess I'm more concerned about the end. Like
Yeah,
when you get to the end of OG Trigun, it's like, okay, well, how long is Trigun Stampede gonna go? Is it gonna go beyond the end of OG Trigun, or is it gonna be the same endpoint?
yeah, that's a good question.
No clue.
I love Roberto. I'm just gonna say it. He's like, situation's hopeless. Guess I'm gonna do what I always do. He just takes a seat and starts drinking.
He's been a very welcome addition to this show.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think we're all in agreement where this is a great character all the way around.
Did anyone else laugh when they were asking how to stop the sand? When Meryl asked Wolfwood if he knew how to stop the sand steamer, and Wolfwood's like, "Look at me! Of course I don't know." It's like I'm an Undertaker with superpowers. I don't know how to stop this thing besides shooting at it with my laser beams.
That is often the solution, though, isn't it?
I mean, laser beam can solve a lot of things.
I mean, in a way, they did use a laser beam at the end, all things considered.
What does he say after this? Where they're like, "Yeah, we got to stop this," and he's just like, "Yeah, we've got grit. We can do it. Got to save the orphans."
And I know I say it every. I just love the banter between Vash and Wolfwood. Like Vash is always happy-go-lucky, and Wolfwood's like, "Stop being an idiot. Like you're wrong. No, you can't do it."
Yeah, there's been some good moments in this show between the two of them, and again, that's from in the original series. That's another common thing where those two go back and forth quite often. And it's usually very humorous on our end to watch them go back and forth.
So we learn that Roberto is ready to leave. He's like, "You know the deal, Meryl." Well, in that case, he calls her newbie. He's like, "We get out before we die. We write the article, and that's that. Like that's our deal. It's time to leave." And Meryl refuses to abide by the deal, and we learn that she blames herself for uh, Tanis losing his arm at Janora's Rock. She's like, if I would have just held on hard, like to him harder and longer, he would still have both arms. And that whole incident has really shaken her to her core.
See, I was really worried when he's like, time to go, and she's like, no. And I was like, oh, don't do a power of friendship thing. Like, we've come this far, Vash, we can't leave him behind. And I'm like, eh. But then she talks about, like, the guilt, like the survivor's guilt type of stuff. And I'm like, holy crap, this is way deeper than I thought it was going to be. Good show.
Yeah, it wasn't the power of friendship, or we learn that Meryl deep down has feelings for Vash or anything of that nature, and the power of love will help us.
Yeah, I'm really glad they didn't go with that route.
It was fantastic. I was like, wow, this is a really good explanation here.
I mean, like the whole power of friendship and power of love thing is so overdone. But like, if that's done well, that can be a great thing. But it's just so overused and done so poorly in so many other medium. I
Hmm.
really did not want to see that. So I'm glad they didn't do that here.
Huey Lewis would like a word with you. He knows the power of love.
Well, I'm all for Huey Lewis. He's going to give me the news about love.
So I love how they're trying to stop the cannon or move the cannon from where it's currently positioned. And Vash and Wolfwood are like, you know what'll help? We'll get under this God knows how heavy cannon, and we'll just start pushing on it. That'll definitely work. If we just use our four arms, granted one is a robot arm, and we have a little bit of super strength, we can definitely push this cannon.
That made me laugh. That's I gotta call that scene out because like they have the scene where Wolfwood's by himself and he's like, I can't move this thing, and then Vash shows up and they're both able to like lift it up. I was like, what? No.
Word is they have grit.
They apparently they do, and they showed it to us right at that scene. If you have enough grit, you can push an object 1,000 times your own muscle mass.
If they had Gritty, they would be able to move that cannon no problem. But I loved the visual of the cannon shooting.
Yes,
That laser just doing a 180, and then the cannon like turning red and orange and just exploding into a ball of fire.
I've said it before, and I will say it again. Laser beams are awesome.
Laser beams.
Laser beams. That's a really old joke between us, dude.
I was gonna. That goes back to what, Dynasty Warriors?
Yeah, like middle school, early high school. We've been doing the laser beam bit for a really long time.
Was that when you use someone's like Musou ability and they shot laser beams, like Zhuge or something like that?
Yeah, it was. Oh man, I wish I could remember the character. It's been so long since I played a Dynasty Warriors game.
All I remember from Dynasty Warriors is Lubu. Lubu has come to destroy us.
That is such a great moment. I hope that lives on forever.
Anytime anyone says Lubu, like they're always the same thing. You know, like people just screaming things like "It's a Lubu," you know.
It's all I could think of when I watched Record of Ragnarok with the Lubu fights episodes. It's like, someone say it. Say the line.
I know. Anytime I hear Lubu, that's immediately what I think of. Lubu! Lubu's come to destroy us!
It was really interesting to see the difference in thinking on saving people between Wolfwood and Vash. Wolfwood is, to save, you have to sacrifice. Vash is, no, I can save everyone. Just give me time.
Sometimes you don't always have time.
It was also interesting that Wolfwood didn't call himself Wolfwood here. He called himself the Punisher.
Yeah, he tries to like dehumanize himself.
Yeah, it's a defense mechanism.
Did anyone else think it was odd that the title screen for this episode was shown so late? It was like 18 minutes into the episode.
I was gonna say there's like 2 or 3 minutes left or 5 minutes left, and then they hit you with the title screen.
We then learn that the sand steamer has a plant on board, and Vash goes up to the plant and he just sort of lays his head against the glass and he puts his hands against the glass, and he's just begging it for help. And then we see the petal opening towards him, and we learn that then the petal turns into two hands, and the hands are touching Vash's hands from behind the glass. And we learn that the plant looks like a person.
Yeah, I remember that being one of the pretty big twists of this world. Is that you're like, wait, the plants are like sentient?
And I don't know if anything like that is ever touched on in the original show.
It kind of is, and it's not a spoiler because we're gonna find out in the next episode. It isn't the fact that like you find out that Vash is a plant,
Yeah,
you
this
know?
this was
And
like the reveal that Vash is a plant.
Yeah. But just outside of a tube.
because before we learn about Vash being a plant, he has the pattern imposed on him that the plant had.
That was the cue, like, uh-oh, is is Vash a plant? And then the episode ends, doesn't it? It's like right there.
Yep. It's like, oh, okay, real cliffhanger there.
The next episode they explain how Vash is a plant.
I was very, not to jump too far ahead into the next episode, but when they first said that Knives and Vash are plants, I was like, wait, I didn't hear that correctly, did I? It's like, nope, they're both plants. Okay, cool.
It makes
Interesting.
sense though, because like, they don't age. They're incredibly old. Knives has crazy abilities. So I mean, it does make sense that they're not regular humans anyway.
Yeah, it explains so much. Yeah, like you said, like Vash not aging, that was the first tip off, right? Like something's up with this guy.
Yeah. They plant like little seeds throughout the show up to this point. So when they do this and they end the episode, you go, oh,
It also sort of makes sense now how Vash was able to save Janora Rock's plant in the past.
yep.
Yeah.
Because they don't ever really go into that.
No, originally you're just like, oh, okay, he must have like he must know like something about plants, but to ever think that he was a plant was not ever considered. So that concludes episode 7. Turtle and Sean, do you want to discuss how this episode compares to the original Trigun, if at all?
I think I mentioned last time that there are a couple episodes on the Sand Steamer. I don't think in the original series they ever mentioned that it's powered by a plant. So that's something different with this series, at least. Um, I don't think Livio is in the original show that I can recall either. So that made this a little more interesting to me to see more Wolfwood flashback and to see him trying to reach out to his friend who's been brainwashed and experimented on. But I think that's all I got for this one.
Before we jump into episode 8, it is time for Mike's Beer of the Week. This week, my beer of the week is Tired Hands Punch. Punch is a double IPA with Nelson Sauvin and Muteca hops. Tired Hands is located in Ardmore, Pennsylvania. I was actually looking through my Untapped check-ins, and this was actually the first beer I ever had from Tired Hands. And after drinking it, I want more Tired Hands.
Nice.
When I smelt it, it smelled heavenly. For being an IPA, it had just that tropical smell to it, and it just it smelled so good. My first sip, I'm like, oh yeah, this is definitely a beer I could drink all day. It's right up my alley. I really like both these hops in my IPAs. There's no bitterness at all with it being a zero IBU beer, and for being 8.3%, it is so damn smooth. I definitely could drink these all day, but the next day would be an awful hangover with it being 8.3%.
That is high.
But for being 8.3, it was so juicy, so tropical. Definitely recommend this beer. Really enjoyed it. The untapped average rating is 4.25, and I give it a 4.5.
I'm gonna have to get my hands on this.
Episode 8, Our Home. I love how this title episode has a period in the name.
I honestly didn't catch that.
It's Our Home, period.
There could be only one.
So the episode opens with Vash and Knives celebrating their first birthday, with which at first I'm like, that seems weird. They're both way too big and way too vocal to be one. And then we learn that hey, they're plants, so it makes total sense, I guess.
Plant logic.
It's like, yes, I know my plants get huge after 1 year, assuming I can keep my plants alive. My wife and I do not have green thumbs.
Last time I checked, my thumbs are not green either.
Yeah, I would definitely neglect my plants if I had them.
I love how Vash was very happy to celebrate the birthday, and Knives was just like, ugh, if I must. But he was having none of it.
Yeah, he was kind of pouty, wasn't he?
But I did love how Knives and Vash played the prank on Rem, saying that the recording light wasn't on,
Yeah, that's fun.
and how Rem's like, "What? No!" And then she realizes they're joking, and they're both. It's weird to see Knives actually laugh and have fun.
Yeah, I like it. I wish we had a little bit more of that. He's kind of crazy when we see him.
I was going so from what little bit we have seen of him, he's pretty dark.
Yeah.
But to see him actually being a kid was weird.
It makes you wonder what they haven't explained, like what switch flipped that made him go the route he did, right? Like, did they ever really explain that?
Not really.
Guess we'll find out later.
So was it me, or did Rem sort of just vaguely look like Meryl?
I mean, they got the dark hair, white outfits.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe it's a stretch.
yeah. I'm not saying no, but
No.
I don't know. To me, it didn't strike me. No.
We finally learn how Vash is Knives' accomplice in the crash landing, and that Vash gave Knives the program access codes.
You know that's all like Knives' idea. He was probably talking to Vash and he's like, "Man, I really wish I had the access codes because then I could do something good." And Vash was like, "Sure, I'll help because I'm a nice, kind individual." And then Knives used the access codes to blow everything up.
Yeah, he was just helping his bro.
Yeah, Vash is trying to be a nice, helpful person. He had no idea Knives was going to do that.
So while we're crash landed and everything, we see Vash has the pattern all over him with how he looked at the end of episode 7, which, again, another hint that Vash is a plant. So we're now aboard ship 3, and they never really explained if these two are doctors, scientists, medical personnel, or what their roles are. But Brad and Luita are talking to Vash. We learn that they saved Vash from the wreckage, and they believe Vash was born from a plant and not a clone, which there's a lot of questions involved with that.
And they don't really elaborate too much further on it.
They just throw the word clone out and like pass by it real quickly.
Yeah, the I think the best explanation we get is it's been documented that very rarely a plant can give birth, and Vash and Knives are referred to as independents, which is why they don't have to live in the glass. And that's kind of all we get.
That's really it.
Interesting voice actor note here, just to tie everything back to Chainsaw Man. Luita's voice actor actor is the same voice actor as Himeno from Chainsaw Man.
Ah, nice.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
While watching these episodes, I'm like, why does her voice sound so familiar? And that is why.
Excellent. Himeno has returned to us.
She is reincarnated.
That's right.
It must have been the deal she made with the Ghost Devil.
See?
We learn Vash is a generator, but he can't generate anything. Vash says all he does is eat, sleep, and drink. He can't generate electricity or anything that Luida mentioned.
Generate some force lightning.
So Brad is a huge dick, and it feels right with his stupid haircut. He is not a fan of Vash at all.
Yeah, he's pretty grumpy here. But I mean, I got to give him a little bit of leeway at least cuz their ship crashed, they almost all died. He's just trying to protect everybody.
Yeah, you have to forgive him a little bit, but it doesn't change the fact that he's extremely mean
Yes.
to Vash.
We see Vash counting the days that he's been locked up on Ship 3. And how strong is that spoon? Or how weak are those walls that Vash can carve indentations into the walls to pass the days? Like, the spoon doesn't give at all.
That is a great question.
Plant logic.
I mean, I'm assuming Vash has some superior strength being a plant, but you would expect the spoon to have some give.
Maybe he can generate strength into the spoon so it doesn't give. That was a reach. I don't
Yeah,
know. Plant logic.
I'm not gonna think too hard about the spoon.
There is no spoon.
Perfect.
We see Brad and Luida talking, and someone runs into the room and says, "Come quick, you need to see this." And Vash is banging at the door, and they're like, "What the hell are you doing?" And he's saying the plant is crying out for help, and he can hear it, and he can save it and help it. And Brad is telling Luida, no, he can't hear anything. He's just making shit up. He must heard us talking. And Luida doesn't quite seem to buy it. Vash's explanation at first. She's very hesitant in believing him. And then she remembers Rem's voice on the recording and how she was so panicky and trying to make sure that she saved Vash. And that sort of flips the switch in her of like, you know what? Maybe we should believe this kid. Maybe he can do something. So they let Vash out against Brad's want, and Vash is able to save the plant. And the pose is much like the pose Vash is in at the end of episode 7.
Yeah, it's like the same thing when he puts his forehead to the glass.
Like a telekinesis going on.
We see Vash is all happy because Luida takes him from his holding cell, and Vash got an actual room. And Vash is so happy he starts jumping and rolling all over the bed, and he's very happy. And he is thanking Luida so much. And Luida tells him that it wasn't just her, that Brad actually helped get Vash a room as well. And Brad's like, hey, you weren't supposed to say that, and gets all mad and embarrassed.
See, Brad's a good guy underneath all that crap.
He's all bark and no bite.
Exactly.
He never wanted to hate Vash. He was just trying to look out for his own people. I get it.
Luida tells Vash that, hey, we have a job for you. You're going to be a doctor to the plants or a counselor to the plants. And then we see an awesome montage of Vash growing up and saving plants on the ships and all over the planet. And during this montage, we see how much Brad cares for Vash. Like he puts his arm in front of Vash as they're walking down the hall and someone passes by, and the guy waves at Vash and Vash waves back. Brad asks Vash if he's tired on their 5th trip and offers Vash water. And we even see the two of them joke with each other. But I love a good montage.
Yeah. It's you know you have a good show when you have a montage.
You're gonna need a montage.
Montage.
Even Rocky had a montage.
Montage.
We learn that Luida is the person who gave Vash his red jacket. And we learn that the red color of the jacket is Rem's favorite color.
Which is why it's Vash's, I guess.
Makes sense.
And Vash is saying that Ship 3 feels like home and he loves being on there. And Luita's like, oh, you know what? We're going to change the name of this ship. Ship 3 is just so bland and monotonous and boring. We're going to change it to home. And we get another late title card 18 minutes into the episode.
I kind of appreciate the late title cards now, just because like in the previous episode and this one, they want to get to the story. But at this point, like, what's the point of even having the title card? It's almost over.
True, true.
Brad learns the truth of the crash 5 years later. He's finally able to fix the black box, and he hears the recording of Vash and Knives calling Vash his accomplice, and Brad sort of loses it. He's like, we can't trust him. We know Vash said that the other independent was dead. He's been protecting him this entire time. They're in cahoots, and Vash runs away, and Brad immediately feels bad about what he said.
Yeah, some real immediate regret there.
It's important to not fly off the handle, especially when you don't have all the information.
Sometimes you just need to count to 10 and cool down.
Indeed.
So Vash runs away. We see him just riding one of those bird things, and he's riding off into the sunset. And then we see Vash is back on home. We see the picture, we see the red jacket, and Vash is like, they saved me again. And we see Vash with his robot arm for the first time in this scene. But we still don't know how Vash lost it.
Yeah, they don't show that. We're going to learn a lot more about Vash. There's a lot of backstory to learn.
Flashbacks incoming, I think.
Whole rest of the season might be a flashback.
It could be.
The episode ends with a younger teenage Vash post running away from home aboard a ship, and he's walking into the plant room, and all the plants are red, like have a reddish tint to them. And he's walking, and we see Knives, I'll call teenage Knives, and they just sort of look at each other. And I'm like, how do you end the episode there? Like, I need more.
With the way we're watching these episodes, we keep stopping like in between part 1 and part 2 for episode, like for story arcs, and it's so frustrating.
I wouldn't even call this a part 1 and part 2 because it feels like this has just been one giant story arc since episode 6 with Livio.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a really good arc, but I want more of it.
Yeah.
2 episodes is not enough. Turtle and Sean, do you want to discuss how this episode compares to the original Trigun?
You have anything on this one, Sean?
No, not really.
Neither do I really. I can say in the original show that they did have the ship. I believe it was called Home. Brad was a character in the original show. I don't remember anybody else in the original series though, and there was a very, very different circumstance. So this was all pretty much new.
Which I'm enjoying, by the way.
Yeah, it's really good.
What did the two of you think of these episodes?
Very good. I liked the flashback episode a lot more than the episode before it, personally. But I think that both episodes were pretty good. This most recent episode with the flashback really has me hooked, and I can't wait to like watch the next one.
It's interesting you say that because I'm actually in the opposite order. I actually really liked episode 7, and it felt like the first episode I was hooked on from start to finish. And episode 8 was so much backstory, and it's such a come down from episode 7 that I was a little bored with it. It was still a great episode. I'm like very interested to see where things go. But episode 7 was the episode that really hooked me on Trigun Stampede.
Yeah, seven's definitely a very like action based episode. Got a lot of darkness to it. But I was very interested in episode 8 for the whole flashback. Because so far, like they've shown a couple scenes here and there, but haven't really got a whole lot of Vash's history, how he got to where he was in the beginning of the show. So episode 8 here really gives you the whole backstory. Here's what went down. You remember that little scene we showed in the beginning? Well, here's that scene and everything else around it to give you more context about Vash and who he is and how he got here. So I was really sucked into episode 8, despite it not really having any action, just to learn more about Vash, because I don't think the original show goes into his backstory all that much. So I was actually kind of excited to see him, kind of growing up after what happened after the ship crashed, his separation with Knives, and how at the end of this he comes face to face with Knives, as a quote unquote teenager.
Now it's time for the Waifu of the Week. Turtle, who do you pick as your Waifu of the Week and why?
For this week, I'm going to go with Vash. I think mostly for episode 7, to be honest. There's a lot of darkness, like I mentioned, and Vash is always this positive force who refuses to give up and just wants to save everybody so everybody can live happily. And I really appreciate that with all the dark overtones that happen in Trigun. Just to have that positive force, don't give up. We can do this. We just have to keep trying. And that's just something I really appreciate. And then again with episode 8, just to get some of his backstory and to learn about him. I really appreciate that. I look forward to episode 9 continuing this flashback, I hope. And I gotta go with Vash this week. Love and peace.
Sean, who do you pick this week and why?
This week I'm gonna pick Luida because when it came to you can really see the impact that she had on young Vash's life. She was the first one to believe that he wasn't evil after the crash and really nurtured him, and almost stepped a little bit into the mother role when he lost his previous mother role. So she's the reason he did not die in the desert. So for that and the positive outcome that she had on Vash's life, I will pick Luida.
I am going to go with Wolfwood. Granted, he was only in one episode this week, but he had that big brother protector vibe about him again this week. Trying to protect Vash, trying to save Livio. And he had that glimmer of hope when he broke the mind control of Livio, of like, oh shit, I actually was able to save him, for it to turn dark very quickly. And I think that sort of helped him spiral into the, I'm not Wolfwood, I'm the Punisher, damn it. Thank you all for joining us this week as we watch Trigun Stampede. We hope you join us next week for episode 12 of the Anime Banter podcast, where we will watch episodes 9 and 10 of Trigun Stampede. Please give us a 5-star review on all platforms that allow reviews. Turtle, do you have anything you would like to plug?
As always, you can find me on my YouTube channel, RPG Treasure Trove. I sit down with a friend and play through RPG games, so if that's something that interests you, please stop on by. Watch some videos, I appreciate it. Give me a subscribe if you're into it, thumbs up on the videos, and feel free to leave some comments, we can chat.
Sean, do you have anything you would like to plug?
Always the Demon Files podcast, but please come to Techo in Pittsburgh in July. Check it out, techo.us. Anime convention. It's a really good time.
I agree, Techo is a blast. I went for the first time last year, and I am looking forward to going again this year.
I've gone a couple years here and there. I would like to go again this year, so stop on by, you might see us.
They have some really great art. The Anime Banter podcast can be found on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Thank you all for joining, and we will talk to you next week.